All right. Well, welcome everybody. Thank you for showing up. Today, we're going to go over two things. The first being how to look up different issues on Google. If you use anything but Google, you're wrong. Uh, but let's see. Let me share my screen and we'll get started. I guess the easiest place to start is in Visual Studio because well, first you have to have an issue to be able to actually look it up. So here we have a little bit of code. It's pretty straightforward. Everyone should be familiar with both lists as well as for loops. So to explain, if anybody doesn't know, a for loop is something you use to iterate over a collection. Um, Let me just mute everybody real quick.
Zoom in, Kia. It's very small.
Huh? Oh, zoom in.
Zoom in, make it bigger.
Better? Can you see?
Much better.
Nice. In this case, our collection being a list of a couple of strings and two integers, 3 and 5. Now, you can run this code like normal, and you're gonna run into, let me just clear it so it's easier to see. You run the code, it's gonna print CD, and then it's gonna give you an error. Now, the reason you're getting the error is because I'm trying to print the first index of X. So if we run it, the first index of X on cookie is C, since that's the first letter or the first index in the string. The second being dookie, and the first index being D. Now, when it comes to ints don't have any sort of index since it's a number. So it's not treated as something you can iterate over, but rather, um, what would you call it? A constant, I guess. Um, so what would you do in this case? You would either just Google this to figure out what you can do, or if you don't know why it's happening, you can do what's called a break line. So on Visual Studio, if you have the line numbering on your left side right here, where you see my mouse. Do you see my mouse, by the way?
Yes.
Cool. Yeah. So right here on 13, you can, or right next to it, you see how a little darker red dot is appearing? You can also right click to add a breakpoint. A breakpoint will pause your code once it reaches that section of code. So in this case, the for loop. And so if I run this in debug mode, you'll get something like that looks like this. It'll highlight the line that it's on, and it'll also tell you some of the variables here on the left side. So when you run the debug for the first time, you just go up here. You can do either start debugging, or you can click up here and you can add a configuration. And all this means is that um, every single time you just press play, you'll configure it for Python. So now you can close this file, and under here, under name, which is our variable, it will.
Ja, och det är han fast i.
Yeah, same, me too. But anyway, on the left side here, on the debugger, as you can see it's in the fourth option in the toolbar on the left side. You have the entire list, which is name 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And of course, since it starts at index 0, the max is 6. At the top, when you run this, oh, maybe it's getting blocked by my, there it is, yeah. You'll have a little toolbar for continuing or jumping in and out of the code. And so to reach the next step, if that makes sense, in the code, you press F10 on your keyboard. So function key all the way at the top. If you don't have F keys, it's usually bound to like Fn and then something, but you can also just press up here. So step over is F10, which just means keep going. So if I press F10, Uh, 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 okay. Lasse, what the fuck was that? Okay, that's not supposed to happen. It's not supposed to delete all your code. Uh, that's interesting. All right, let's try it again. We have name. There we go. Now, here you can see that X in this iteration of the for loop is the first value in the list, which is cake. We continue one more step. You can see that new name is assigned to the first index, which is C. And then if you, again, press F10, it'll finish that and it'll print C to the console. And it'll jump back up again to the for loop. Now, if you press this again, you can see that X, the variable, updated to the second index. So index 1. And in that case, Uki, because I deleted the D by mistake. And so if I press F10 again, you can see that new name again is reassigned to the first index, which is O. I can't see the chat right now, but oh, there's actually a lot of them. You're to the yeah, that's true. Are there any questions so far? Because there might be, and if there's not, I'm just going to continue. Now, what you can see here is if I go on to the third one, same thing. It's gonna say that X is 3, and then it's gonna try to get the index, but you can't since an int is not subscriptable. It doesn't have an index of anything, or in if you know any other languages, it doesn't have a substring. So what we can do is now stop the code, and if we just run it normally, you'll get the error. And now here is where you can look it up. Let me open Firefox where I don't have anything, so it'll look quite blank. No, 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 go away. Did I remember to record?
Oh, you did, yeah.
Ah, lit. Nice. All right. So in Google, you can just either paste the error and search for it. 9 out of 10 times, you'll find Stack Overflow being the first thing that pops up. Stack Overflow, for people that don't know, is a sort of forum where people post questions and then people reply. So in this guy is trying to create a simple program that tells you your lucky number according to numerology, and he keeps getting an error. And you can see that he's running Python. You can see it down here. They'll tag their the language that they're doing, and if you scroll down, you'll see a answer with a check mark. That's the answer that's either been voted the most or is found to be the correct answer. So in this guy's case, let's see here. What does he have? He has a file number to pi, or that's the error he's getting. Int object is not subscriptable, and so here's his script. He gets an input, and then he checks the first and the second index, so the month and the date and then the year. Let's see what's the error he's getting. Some ln. So instead of manually adding everything, since that's giving him an error here, he is instead using sum, which is a function. But the point is, when you're looking up things, the easiest is usually to look up the error code that you get in Visual Studio. Now, if you can't do that, you might want to Google something yourself without the code. And in that case, what I would do is I would look at what kind of things do we have. So we have a list, we have strings and integers, but the strings are working, so we can just ignore those. So I would look up list. That's the first thing. And then index of int. Because since we're trying to get an index of our variable, which in that case is 3, which is an int, and then I would just add the language that we're looking for. And so you can look up and down, and you see Stack Overflow again, first option. And sometimes you get W3 School. W3 School is your friend, because here I'll show you the Python documentation sucks. It quite literally sucks. This is what it looks like. You go to
Yeah.
yeah.
What is documentation?
Okay, so documentation, for somebody that doesn't know, is a collection of everything about said language, whether it's Python, Java, C++, or C sharp, or any language. Sure. The documentation is how everything works. They're gonna have functions, data types, methods, everything. And an example of this is the Python's own documentation. Now, I don't recommend using their own documentation because it quite literally sucks. As you can see, it's quite rudimentary and hard to find things. Like here, common string operations. You can try to read it. It's usually gonna have recommendations like a dictionary for code. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, it's basically like a dictionary for said language, containing everything you need to be able to operate around it. Now, its own documentation sucks, so what I recommend is W3 School, and I'll post the link for this as well. And you can just search for W3 School Python. And here you can see a much more nicely formatted website. So if we actually jump to variables, since you've covered this, you see they give you a couple examples. So Python has no command for declaring a variable. So what they mean by no command is you don't have to declare the data type. So say in Python, if I was to declare a string, I could be like my string is equal to cake. Whereas say in Java, you would have to write string and then the name of it. So my string is equal to cookie. And that's what they mean. So this part, the data type is something that's not needed or not even possible to add, since you'll complain about it. But the most important part of W3 School, or the nicest part, is say lists. If you scroll down, it will give you. Am I stupid, Lasse? Where is it?
What is it you're looking for?
The methods.
You found them under array last time. I think it's because list isn't actually like a list isn't actually a
Okay, so let's for loops maybe, or tuples. Am I choosing all the wrong things to choose?
just choose array, my guy.
You were on it. Go down 4 more. 3 more. There you go.
There we go. You get a couple examples. You get things you can try. So if you click this, you can actually run their code, see how it works, you can play with it. So if I do say cars 1, so if I do cars 1, what's it gonna print? Somebody answer me in the chat, preferably. If I choose index 1 of the list cars instead of 0, Ford, right? No, Volvo. Volvo is the correct answer. I'll run this. Hopefully it runs quick enough. There we go, Volvo. Since the index always starts at 0, so 0 would be Ford, 1 would be Volvo, 2 would be BMW. But what I want to show you is down here, array methods. So on most components of Python, under W3 School, you can look up the methods. These are the things you can do to manipulate your methods. So in this case, name is a list. So we can do name dot append. So we remove all this. If I do print name, I can't see the. There we go.
Kia,
What's up?
somebody just asked, what was it in your code that printed only the first letter? Maybe
That
go
was
back
the
and
index. So if you go to let's see here, I am. Okay, I can just do this, so it'll be able to make it a little easier. When the for loops runs through the list, the first one's going to be cake. Next one's going to be dookie. Fourth is 3, potato, tomato, fifth, 5, and Tom the Bomb. That's the list. Now, X, and if you add an index, if you have a variable, X in this case, and you add square brackets after it or at the end of it, it most likely indicates the index that you want to access of that variable. So if X is cookie, index 0 would be C, 1 would be O, 2 is 3, and then, so on and so forth. So if I just print this, you get C, which is the first index, and D, which is the first index in Dookie. Now, if I wanted to print, say, K and O, what index would I have to use? That's for you to answer. Anybody else? Index 0. So A would be index 1, and then K would be index 2. So if I press 2 in here, it should print K, O, and then it's going to crash again because I have that integer. Now, if I remove the integer, you can see the complete print. It'll print K, O, T, M, and then M again. Does that answer? A. No worries. Does that answer your question? Yeah. Okay. Cool. Now where was I? What was I talking about? Something about name. Was it Tom?
I don't remember.
Ah, shit. Yeah. List appending. So
All right.
if we print this list right now, it'll print everything inside as a list. It'll print the entire list. So it won't print each individual item. To do that, you would need to, again, have a for loop. So for X in name. Or, I mean, X could be anything, right? It could be for given name. In name, print given name. So every single time it iterates over, it'll just print the variable. Now, what you can do with the list is add things to it. So if we append, say, I don't know, Lassa to it, and now we print the list again, you'll get the same list, but Lassa has now been added to the end of it. And so these are the methods that you see here on the side. No one's going to ever expect you to remember everything about Python or anything about any language. It's not like math where, you learn a formula and then you just use it. Google is going to be your best friend. You want to Google issues, copy people's code from W3 School, copy Stack Overflow. There's nothing wrong with copying somebody's code snippets as long as you, first of all, understand what you're doing. And when it comes to if you need to modify that code, you can. Because when it comes to code, there's no point in reinventing the wheel. If someone's already done an algorithm for sorting, there's no point in you in trying figuring out how to do your own, because chances are you're not going to do it as well. That's just the honest truth. There's always going to be someone that's better than you at coding, and asking for help is not wrong anywhere. Let's find a harder issue to look up, something that's not as easy as looking up a list. Someone give me an example. Let's show Tom as well.
Python related?
Well, yeah, anything really. I don't have that
Okay.
much to go over today because I'm looking up issues and
Yeah.
it should be simple enough.
It's hard to think on the spot.
Yeah, it's hard to
Give me a
think of
minute.
issues.
Yeah.
But like, say you need to look up how to. You haven't gone over this, so I don't expect you to understand. But array methods.
Oh, I have an idea, dude.
What's up?
Write some code and indent it with 3 spaces,
Okay, so like,
like an if statement.
like this.
Yeah, something like that.
Okay.
I love how it fixed it for you, by the way.
Oh, it doesn't have contains. That's a Python thing.
Yeah, but even that you can look up.
Well, yeah, I guess, yeah. So here it says attribute error str, so string, since uki or cookie is a string. It'll say object has no attribute contains. So it doesn't have anything called contains, so give an error. So if I look up this error, it'll come to Stack Overflow. Here, someone's asked, I'm analyzing tweets, have 10K tweets. I want to double check something. I used f.string.contains and returned string has no attribute. Same issue we got. And so here, it doesn't have a top voted comment, but this one with the most votes says, I think you're looking for in. And so in Python, instead of using .contains, you would use in. So you would do if name, or if uki is in our variable name, then you print you did it. Otherwise, print hello. So now if I try this instead, you did it. Now it works.
Beautiful.
Huh?
I said beautiful.
Thank you. Now if I change this up to cake, now cake is not in cookie, doesn't exist, and so logically we should get hello. Do we any questions? Lise, is that something you would like me to look up, or is that something?
I think that was from earlier when you asked where we're at.
Gotcha. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So W3 School is very useful. It has everything very neatly plotted out. You can click here, and then if you're looking at a method, say arrays, you can even click on these to see what they do. So append, Python list append method. The definition append appends an element to the end of the list. So we'll add it not at the beginning, so not index 0, but wherever your thing ends. So here they're appending 2 different lists. So I guess that's something we can go over as well. Let me just copy their code. And so if you append a list to another list, it'll literally just stack them right after each other. So if you go ahead and print A at this point, you'll get apple, banana, cherry. Then it'll add the list inside a list. So it'll nest the lists, if that makes sense. If that doesn't make sense, let me know and I'll explain. Cool. Nice. let's see. What else is there? Have I forgotten anything, Tom Melissa?
No, I think for all the other things, it is generally the same type of methods that you need to use to look up your issues. I mean, general advice is, first of all, when you look something up, is write down the general topic. So be
So
it
like,
Python, VS Code, Java, Windows, whatever it be, and then from there try to essentially describe the issue with as little words as possible
mhm.
while staying on topic.
So like
So you could
here,
write, for example, add to list, iterate through list, install VS Code.
say here we have 3 items, right? So we have index 0, 1, and 2. So if I try to print index 3, it's gonna throw a list index out of range, which means that index 3 is outside of the range that exists for our given list. If you don't look the issue up, but you want to Google it yourself, I would go ahead and do something like Python print index list. There you go, Python list index. It doesn't have to be W3 School. It can be whatever website you find. Most likely, it's either going to be Stack Overflow, Geek for Geeks, or Program is a good one as well. Now, if you can't find the issue, my best advice is to either check with somebody on Discord. I mean, most people usually reply. Um, Worst comes to worst, email Frederick or Andreas or whoever you're.
Yes, Andreas.
Yeah, Andreas. So trailing white space is something that gets caught in code grade, but is there a way to see fix it? Yes, there is. So the code grade is using what's called a linter. So in that case, Flake 8. So you can go ahead and install Flake 8 by going over to extensions, search for Flake 8.
No, man, it's a pip.
Is
It's
it?
a pip package. Yeah.
Yeah, it's install.
So you would have to go here, and then you go to PowerShell, I think. And then you just do pip install Flake 8, I think. I hope. Nope. What's it? Oh. Okay, I guess I should teach everybody how to install pip.
I think it comes automatically with the Python installation. I think it's just that it doesn't work in PowerShell. You need to use CMD, I think.
Yeah, I tried it. It works in CMD. This is where.
Or you just don't have it
yeah.
installed, my guy.
Yeah, I just don't have pip installed. Let me install pip real quick.
What
if
is
you-
pip, by the way?
Okay, so pip, for people that don't know, is a package installer. It's commonly used in Linux, comes built packed in to Linux. You use it to install most things. You're gonna use it next year for your what's that
Not
course
even
called?
next year. I mean, later in the.
Oh yeah, this year, methods for
Yeah.
sustainable development.
Exactly.
So get familiarized with it, and since I don't have it, I gotta download it. Download files. No. Can I even install it like this?
There was an installation page. If you go back on where you
Was
were,
there?
just go back. And then
Ah, yes.
that's not where. There, yeah.
Windows. Lovely. Why can't I install this?
Write out Python. Or Python 3, I don't know.
No, but that's not the problem. The problem is
No?
just not
Okay.
finding the thingamabob. Whatever. You get pip installed, and you install Flake 8. Now that Flake 8 is installed, you can go to problems, and it'll tell you what the issue is. So, like if I say do name is equal to Kia, and then I just say it like this. Now it's gonna complain that there's no docstring. Docstring is a string at the beginning that declares what the file does. So in this case, help session testing page.
Yeah.
Ooh, what's up?
I think you might have a little bit of difficulty actually showing it off because you have black enabled, which catches like 99% of the errors anyway, or the issues.
Do I have black enabled?
Yeah, you likely have
It's
black
fixing
enabled
things
because
for you
like
as you go.
it fixed stuff for you as you went. Yeah.
How do I?
Python select formatter or formatter. No, not form. Oh, no, not format selection. I think it's Python formatter or something. No interpreter.
I'm just gonna do it manually. Where is it? Edit. I hate this so much. Preferences, settings. Done. Cool. So if I do say name is equal to Kia, here we go. So Flake8 will first complain that there's too many blank spaces. You're not supposed to have a million blank spaces before or after your code. And then it says no new line at the end of file. Again, at the end of your Python file, you have to have one singular blank line. If you add two, it's going to complain again because, yeah, blank line at the end of the file. So you remove that. And now it's complaining about the docstring. Now, docstring is, how do I explain docstring? Docstring is a string at the beginning of your Python file or your function or class that declares what that section of code or file does. Like a title, exactly. This is for when you auto-generate documentation. I can show you that in a project that we made.
Kia, I don't think this is required for code grade.
I don't think it is.
On
It
code
might
grade,
be
in
an
code grade,
ignore.
it doesn't
But yeah,
require.
because he ignores a lot of stuff.
He does ignore a lot of
But
stuff. Yeah.
bottom line is you
Yeah,
can install
sorry.
Flake8. You might as well get used to doing this stuff because you're gonna have to do it later. In the next course for your second semester or your second term,
Mhm.
you will have to do this or you will not pass. When you're writing 2,000, 3,000 lines of code, going back and commenting on over everything is a pain. It's a major pain in the ass. So you might as well just get used to it and start doing it now. In this case, first of all, it has to be assertive. So you can't ask a question. You have to say what it does. So testing page for help session. Dot. You have to have a full stop because if you don't, it's going to complain again. First line should end with a period. It's going to be a pain. You're going to go crazy, but it's okay. You'll figure it out. And yeah, I think that answers your question, Vibeke. Install Flake8 in Visual Studio, and you'll thank yourself for doing it. Because yes, uploading your code and running it in code grade like 15 times just to get back like a small formatting error is truly annoying.
Going back to the looking up problems and stuff.
Yep.
If you see exam questions, I would suggest in any course that you see, I highly recommend not copying it at all because it will get auto detected. There's tools that run, and you'll get I think suspended, right? Straight up.
With a chance of suspension.
Yeah. Okay. So it's not worth it.
They're just closed Firefox.
Because sometimes you will actually find stuff online that people from your class may have posted or that people posted before. But yeah, no, trust me, it's not worth it.
Yeah, also like Kia said that you can copy code from online, and I mean, don't get me wrong, it's a really good way to learn and understand it when you can't figure out how to do it.
Yeah,
But
obviously when
be
it says
careful
that,
because they do run like they run
Yeah.
like plagiarism checks even on your code.
yeah,
So take care. Like if you do take a piece of code directly from
that's
somewhere,
fine.
just like add credits, like just legit add credits, and then it's considered, like you have a source for it. But make sure you understand it, of course.
Yeah, of course. When it comes to that's fine, Lise. If you copy your own code, basically the way, fuck, what's it called? What's that website called they use?
I don't remember.
It's
I'll have
called.
a look. Either way, they have a website.
Either way, they have this website that checks your files for plagiarism. But it also documents where the file came from. So if you write your own code and then reuse your code, it's just going to show up as your code. So it doesn't matter. Bottom line is copying code is okay as long as, first of all, you know how it works. So if they ask you about it, you can explain it perfectly. And if you straight up copy paste someone's like algorithm, or you don't modify the code at all, then give credit, because it's just like a report. You copy something, you either modify it to the point where it's your own, or you give credit to where it came from. Otherwise, it's plagiarism. But with that said, I don't think I have anything else to bring up, unless somebody has any questions.
I mean, if you had any errors, I see some of you have already submitted their tasks. If you had any errors that you encountered that you don't know how to look up, this is where you can ask, I suppose, as long as it doesn't contain actual answers to the questions.
I'm gonna stop sharing my screen so I can see everybody. All right. So, are there any questions regarding anything, whether it's lab related, or in your case, task related? Um, if you have any questions at all regarding anything.
The website's called Urkund.
Urkund,
Yeah.
that's what they use. I guess I can show you Urkund as well. I think. How the hell do you get to Urkund?
I don't know if we have access as students.
We do.
We do?
Uh,
Also, if anyone has questions related to the computer science course, I mean, if it's up to me, you can ask questions about that too.
guess I can sign out and sign back in. There we go. Courses, all courses. Let's see. Fundamental programming. Actually, I'm not sure if the code grade ones do get submitted to Urkund, because code grade takes care of that. But say object-oriented programming. If I go to assignments, if I go to seminar 2, here we go. Go to submission details, and here you can see that Canvas has an integration with Urkund. So here it says 89% familiarity. And if you click on it, it will show you where it matches. Now, don't be scared. Just because it says that it's 89% similarity with some other code, it doesn't mean you've failed, because Urkund is originally made for texts and reports. So it will match things like package, it'll match private, it'll match everything, right? So in a coding language where 40% of your code contains generic values, it will complain about that. So here it says like this is my stuff, and it's matching with package, and the things that aren't matching are the red parts. So blank space here, final here, and then the account number. Next highlight. Again, it's matching this stuff, which is out of my control. Like
You're not
how
sharing
big
your
what-
screen.
Oh,
Yeah.
Somebody should have said that a little earlier.
Sorry.
Where's Zoom? Well, now I feel like an idiot. There we go. All right. If you come to Urkund, or you come to Canvas, you go to whatever task you submitted, and you go under submission details. Here, it'll show you how much of your code matches other existing records. So here, in case this one, it says 89%, which is technically a failure, but it doesn't apply for code. Because if you click on matching text, you can see what it's matching is private double. So double is a data type, class is just a generic term, package company, you have to have. So these are the things that it's matching with, which means you're fine. Now, if it matches an entire file with somebody else's, yeah, the teacher is going to be like, why? But again, this is just to show that your code will get checked. Don't try to cheat because it won't work. Adding spaces doesn't work either. I mean, we have caught people cheating that just they had the exact same code, but they just added a bunch of spaces in between.
Yeah.
So let's
That was
see.
good.
Something like this. What it's matching here is again all the generic stuff, and then my stuff that I've written doesn't match anymore. So in this case, again, you're fine. Anything else that I should go over?
I think that's mostly
I
it.
think that's it, honestly.
Like I said, if anyone has any questions, even if it's computer science related, I mean,
It doesn't have to be related to this course or fundamental
literally
programming.
anything. Yeah.
All right. If there's nothing, then today's class or lecture or whatever you want to call it is over. Thank you for showing up,
Yeah, thank you.
and yeah, that's it.
So if you want to stay, like at least I think I'm gonna hang out just for a bit in the call, or like at least I can.
I'm gonna head out, but
yeah. Wait, if you head out, don't you end the fucking call?
no, because I can make you host.
You can end the recording, I think.
Make host, yes, and I'm gonna stop recording.